So I was kind of in the mood to look for some good contemporary artwork in Khon Kaen because I'm an artiste, baby. I'm an artiste. But I kind of ended up where the wild things roam, to tell you the truth. What's going on here? Okay, so parts of this are going to be without a script, so you're going to hear more ums and that kind of thing. I felt that a video that was immersive like this needed to be in the moment. My father and I had a very complicated relationship. He didn't know how to be a father, and I had no intention of being the son that he would have preferred. It was a deeply unhealthy relationship, but you don't get the childhood that you choose, you get the childhood that you are given. You only have today to pave your own way. One place that he and I did meet in the middle was art. He was a lover of finely crafted works, often marveling at Da Vinci's scientific approach to drawing at times. My father could paint and draw, and he encouraged me to do so. I'm a decent painter, though not technically as proficient as he was. I'm more creative. My father approached drawings like an engineering problem, fussing over proportions and light sources and shadow depth the way a computer programmer might. When I was 6 years of age, I showed him a drawing of some stick figures in a trench battle of sorts. That was the day that he mustered up the strength within his highly critical, normally dismissive soul to say to this young man, i.e. me, that my drawing was pretty good, but son, sit down. Let me show you something about three-dimensional perspective drawing. I would undergo several of these confusing lessons in my youth, but a reoccurring theme that he was trying to push into my head was that we see the things that we see on canvas as an illusion of sorts, something that takes advantage of the fact that we really truly see with our brains, not just our eyes. He was trying to get me to see that you can take mountains or objects that appear closer or further. You can give them that illusion depending on the color that you're giving them. For example, you can move objects back on a painting. Remember, this is a two-dimensional canvas. You can move objects back visually by painting them blue or washing them out in blues. He showed me that certain colors start to fade the further away from a painting that you are standing, allowing objects to morph and shift and materialize depending on the distance. Our brain is looking for patterns, and a skilled artist curates that experience for us. I think it is because of my father that I approach modern art carefully. I have some favorite modern and contemporary artists on my list, but in general, the artist still needs to be a master craftsman for me to truly appreciate the works that he's producing, or she. You can't just paint a square or some circles or tack a banana on the wall and tell me that I need to appreciate it. Needless to say, I approach exhibits with works from young artists and from students with a bit of caution. Khon Kaen University Art and Culture Center fortunately has some pieces that are well worth checking out. Some taking what otherwise would be derivative works by adding a Thai twist to them. The operating hours are from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. by the way, and this is every day. Unless I'm wrong, there are at least 3 museums in the front part of Khon Kaen University. I drove past the Science Museum and spotted the Natural History Museum building as well. The Science Museum looks pretty spectacular, nestled in a wooded area with things like manicured trails that loop around the museums all the way to the lakes that are flanking the entrance of the university. It's very scenic. I'll definitely have to check both the other museums out. You know, one of my deepest disappointments about being in Bangkok is, besides the temples, I felt that other aspects of culture were missing or not known to me. It was all about shopping and these glitzy malls and all of this nonsense that you can find anywhere in any big major metropolitan area. You just have more of them in Bangkok. I've always longed for an Asian version of the Louvre in Bangkok though. It would be the perfect city for it. And yes, I know there are some pretty good galleries if you look, and there are always exhibits of art in any city if you're willing to look for it. I just like it to be in a large location like the Louvre or the Musée d'Orsay or something like that. Now, being in a smaller city like Khon Kaen, I didn't expect too much. I'm more forgiving of smaller cities, though I really shouldn't pity the smaller cities all that much, because I do remember that in my youth I was in the city of Bonn, Germany, right? Bonn, Germany, Beethoven's Bonn. And it's not exactly Parisian in scale, but it had one of my favorite art galleries that I had managed to experience in my youth. Luckily, the art museum in Khon Kaen does not disappoint. Though not cavernous, it is large enough to grab my attention. And more importantly, it's filled with pieces that delight, inspire, and confound. All three things that I love in works of art. Here you see this young man here. He's painted himself over and over again. At first the painting looks like an AI-generated nightmare, a Teletubby hallucination. You know, like after someone slips something in your glass or something. But there's a lot going on here. I mean, look, I assume the artist painted himself. Every character in the painting is the same guy. He's dressed differently in many of them, but sometimes exhibits a tan, sometimes he looks pixelated or textured, and sometimes he looks kind of washed out. His pose is also kind of like unnaturally formal. It looks like it's been forced on him, or he's forced to pose like that. Like as if he's like this guy with 1,000 personas, but they're all forced into the same rigid box. And one thing I'm for sure is that on the hottest of summer days, you'll probably appreciate this museum even more, because man, is the air conditioning kicking it in here. It's like an ice box. And as you can see here, not every painting is done in the style of, say, Salvador Dali or something like that. There are traditional looking paintings as well, and a lot of paintings that depict scenes of profound tenderness, loss, or just melancholy. Something that seems to be anathema to the way that Thai people actually operate, because you always think of this as the land of smiles. But these paintings really evoke more emotions than I was expecting for university students who are usually coming from a place of relative privilege in comparison to their mostly village counterparts. Underneath the stairs to the second floor, there's this small room that you can walk into, and this tends to have traditional religious stuff. I don't know what this guy's all about, but he's the reason why I even stepped into the room. But yeah, you can see the different monks here and their different poses. Really cool looking stuff. I don't know if these were done by students or if these were actually collected from other places, to tell you the truth. But it is a nice little area. The museum has this throughout. There's rooms where you're not expecting very much, or you're not expecting anything, and then you walk into it and all of a sudden there's all these different things that you can take a look at and behold. So as you ascend the stairs to the second floor, it doesn't get any warmer up here. I mean, they've got air conditioning really kicking in. By the way, if you are wheelchair bound or you need assistance, there is a lift in the building that will take you up all 3 floors. Additionally, I noticed that the entrances to this actual facility all have wheelchair ramps, and they're not like the kind of haphazard things that everybody just kind of slaps together just to meet regulation. They're thoughtfully placed and can make a very comfortable experience no matter who you are. In my opinion, no matter who you are, you should be able to indulge in art. So if you're thinking that the second and third floors are just giving you more of the same, you would be gravely mistaken. There are areas on the second floor that you walk through and it takes you to something completely different. For example, there is a film and cultural center side of the museum that you have to walk through to get through on the second floor that actually has a mini theater in it and a wraparound gallery that goes around the theater. So it's really, really a great, cool experience.
ในทุกภูมิภาคของประเทศได้กลายมาเป็นต้นแบบคลังอาหารที่ยั่งยืนและการท่องเที่ยวเชิงเกษตรอย่างสมบูรณ์เป็นดั่งพระราชประสงค์หากทุนของฉันคือกำไรของแผ่นดิน
So this painting at first blush looks like it's an attempt at, say, Monet or Cézanne or one of those French Impressionist paintings. But if you look closer, the style is a bit different. It's more realistic. The brushes are more finely detailed, even though the color palette is more vibrant. And also there are, if you look carefully, Khmer ruins in the background reflected off the water. It's one of my favorite pieces in the museum. So here's an example of a piece of painting that I appreciate more for what it is than how it actually looks. I find the colors and everything to be very hotel room in my opinion, but I like the fact that you see the face of the Buddha back there and then you see many other faces scattered throughout. Reminds me a lot of that Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva that I was talking about in another video about a temple that I'd recently visited. But Avalokiteshvara, or the Buddha of compassion, is normally depicted as a figure with like thousands of arms. Normally it's like a dozen arms in the picture, right? But anyways, the depiction is supposed to be of like 1,000 arms reaching in different directions. I've never seen one of that Bodhisattva done with many faces. Either way, I really like this painting. By the way that the stuff kind of works is you get a mix of contemporary and traditional on each of the floors, but I found that the third floor tended to be the most abstract of the floors. We're still on the second floor here. We're actually behind the theater. This particular painting came from the third floor, but this one I believe is from the second floor, even though it is highly abstract. The overall theme of the exhibitions here is for contemporary art to be displayed. So the majority of the stuff here is relatively contemporary, some of it quite challenging. All of it, in my opinion, worth a gander. It should be noted that if I were to decorate my dream home, it would be done as a juxtaposition of contemporary pieces and traditional pieces kind of put together. I think they can live in harmony, and obviously this museum shows that they can. So here we are on the third floor, and as you can see, the pieces do tend to be more contemporary than what was below. I mean, some of the stuff below was pretty mind-blowing, but this stuff is very abstract. I do like that picture on the right-hand side of the Zen symbol. I believe that's the Zen symbol for Zen Buddhism, but I'm not 100% sure. Like the second floor, there's a main room that kind of wraps around like a mezzanine style that you can look down onto the other floors. But there's also a route that you can take that allows you to kind of meander through a kind of a gallery maze of sorts. So there is this feeling that the place is actually smaller than it really is. It's quite a formidable sized art gallery for being in a city this small. So way to go, Khon Kaen University. So it's time to exit, time to go home. I got a little bit of yard work to do and some videos to create. It was a nice excursion though, and something that I highly recommend if you are in the Khon Kaen area and you like to look at beautiful things. There are plenty of beautiful things in this gallery. But before I go, I'm going to stop by and get some coffee here on the grounds right beside the museum. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a solid, like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, you guys, I love you. I appreciate you, and I wish you all the best in life. Try to go out there and look at some art. See you next time.